Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Nothing happened last night. Don't worry about it. Hi, everyone.
Oh, wait, you're not going to mention your boy Poole?
Yes, the pool party. We'll talk a lot about that at 3:25.
Chase Hughes pumping out the steal facts on Bilal.
Oh, yeah. They're pumped.
Most
this
steals,
is as happy as Chase Hughes has been in a long time.
Most steals for a rookie in preseason in Wizards history. And
what a sentence.
And they have a game to go.
What a sentence. Most steals for a rookie in preseason Wizards history. That is a sentence right there.
I don't know whose record he broke, but we probably never heard of him.
Ask you a serious question. Will it get any better than that?
Oh. I mean, I didn't watch because I was doing the Caps game last night.
I also didn't watch because it's preseason NBA.
Right, but I heard Poole went off for like a bunch of points in a few minutes. Like it wasn't like he played in like 36 minutes.
We're gonna get a few of those this year. Right. Those will be the fun nights with him. We'll get a few of those this year where he pumps, he loads it up. So that's cool. Hopefully we'll win those games. Actually, here's how low my standards are this year. If he does that and we lose, I'm cool with it. I'll feel like I got my money's worth, or I've gotten my attention's worth. That's all.
41 points last night. Yeah. His regular season career high is 43. And then on your boy Bilal, Chase tweeted this. He's had at least 3 steals in each of his first 3 preseason games.
Yeah.
Those 10 steals are the most for an NBA rookie in a preseason since, I don't know how to say his name, Matisse?
Tebow,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had 13.
Wait, he was on our team?
No. He's saying it.
NBA.
NBA history.
Oh, so we're having the best preseason ever, is what you're telling me.
They're undefeated. They're 3-0. Gas it up, baby.
Again.
Pool party.
Again. Let me reiterate this question. Will it get any better than this? A few years ago when we had vote everybody off the island, but they were 10-3 at one point. There was no way it was going to get any better than that. I didn't see it crashing off the cliff the way that it did, but it did. This year, knowing what the expectations are, is this the best week of the season for Wizards basketball, that they are a juggernaut preseason team breaking records?
No.
Oh. Well.
Want to know why?
Let's look on the calendar to figure out when you think it'll be better.
No, you don't have to look at the calendar. You want to know why? Because they're not wheeling a Max Bradley Beal out in front of us and trying to tell us it's going to be the thing that gets them into the playoffs, when we all knew going into last year that they simply weren't going to be good enough, and he was making such a stupid amount of money, we couldn't watch them without kind of hating what that guy was doing on the court. Or at least that's how I felt, honestly.
They also are gleefully telling us, this year we won't be good.
Correct.
We know this.
Expectations matter.
I agree.
It really matters with this team.
100% expectations matter.
So, Ted didn't come out and tell me that they were going to be a contender in the Eastern Conference. Winger and co. said, we're going to be bad this year. And, didn't say it like that, but we're like, we got some work to do.
We got some work to do.
I think when it comes to Wizards fans, that's all we've ever wanted, is for you to just be real with us on what to expect.
Well, actually, they were being real. They just weren't realistic people.
Yes, correct. So there's going to be
like people that didn't see the reality themselves. They believed the lie.
Yes.
As George Costanza once said, it's not a lie if you believe it. Right?
So what's going to happen here is they're going to beat the Mavericks at home or something, and we're all going to go, isn't that great? They beat a good team at home.
Yeah.
Instead of, the Mavericks killed them by 30. They suck and they're paying Bradley Beal all of this money.
Hold on. Let me see here. Let me check out the schedule real quick. What do we got coming on? We got one more preseason game tomorrow night.
Yes.
Tomorrow night.
Probably start against the Pacers. It seems like they always start against the Pacers in the first couple of weeks of the season.
They do.
They did that last year.
Can't
that was
believe
their first game
did
last
you know
year.
that, or
no,
you just guessed
that was their first game last year.
At Pacers.
It's the same thing as last year.
In 6 days, 25th, they play the Pacers. Then their first home game is Saturday the 28th, Memphis. And then Monday night they get Boston. So they get Memphis. Well, we don't know what Memphis is. And then we get Boston at it. Then they go 4 in a row on the road at Atlanta, at Miami, at Philly, at Charlotte.
Ew.
And they have the back-to-back. I hate this. The home at home with Charlotte, which in the NBA I'm like, That ain't our bag, baby.
Yeah,
you don't need to be playing anybody
NHL
back to back.
thing.
Yeah. You don't need to be doing that, especially with like Charlotte. They're right down the road, guys.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah,
it's
that's
not
a weird
like
one.
it's a little weird. Anyway, so there. Oh, look at you. You knew. If you want to go to that opener in Indiana, tickets as low as $10. By the way,
I have no interest in going there.
What's
for that.
cheaper, that or NLCS Game 3?
That's cheaper.
Where the Arizona
Barely.
Diamondbacks fans have gone, you know what? We're good. We've reached our limit. We don't need to see any more now.
Did you hear what Phillies fans are doing?
They're going out there, right? They must be.
They're buying them and then donating them
Wow.
because they're so cheap. So they're like,
What is happening?
they need to get the good karma somehow.
Why
So,
do I have to like them more than I already did?
because they saw how cheap the tickets were, and we're like,
That's actually very nice. Donating to like Boys and Girls Clubs
I
and
didn't
things
say-
like that.
I didn't-
Schools,
I didn't-
Boys and Girls Clubs, all that stuff.
let me check. Hold on, give me one sec, because I
That's
saw
a
it.
great idea,
I saw
by
it
the
in
way.
passing.
That's an amazing idea, actually.
Let's see, because it was on one of the aggregate websites. I gotta find it. But either way, it was like, because tickets, as I told you yesterday, were literally $12. They're buying them and donating them. I can't now find the article, but either way, Phillies fans are buying them up.
By the way, on the undefeated preseason of the Wizards, one of the games was against an Australian team I've never heard of in my life. But that's not important right now.
Here it is.
Yeah.
A Phillies fan said, "Good morning to everyone. I just bought 14 tickets for Game 3 in Arizona to assure there will be 14 less loser Diamondback fans in the building. If there are any Phillies fans that want to go to the game, DM me." And I'll
They're
give
doing
you
that.
it.
See, I was thinking like they're going to do it and then call up the Boys and Girls Clubs out there and go, guess what, guys?
They
We
still
got
might.
you 20 tickets to take whoever you want to an NLCS game.
Maybe
Here
they
you
will.
go.
They still might do that.
That'd be nice.
Because
And then those kids and they'll be like, just tell the kids. The only rule is tell the kids the Phillies fans gave it to them.
tell
That's
them
it.
who the best player on the field is.
Yeah.
His name's Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
And you're going to root for him.
Tell them who the second best player is, and the third, and the fourth. They all happen to be on that team.
That's right. Yes, correct.
Let me see. I want to take a look here. Jordan Poole in 27 minutes last night, 10 of 19, 15 of 16 from the line. 15 of 16 from the line, 41 points. We're going to get a few of these with him this year.
Correct.
That's going to be the fun part of the season. We're going to get a few of these with him this year. Your guy Bilal, who Chase Hughes is in love with, 21 minutes, 1 of 5 from the floor, 4 of 4 from the line, 7 points, but had the 3 steals.
That's right.
That's what they're happy about. 3 rebounds, 3 steals, just 7 points. They've also signaled he's young. They're finally doing this right. Give him time. We think he's going to see a lot of time on the court because of his defense. His offense needs to develop.
Right.
They're saying the right things for once.
Correct.
The bar's low because it should be.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. That's why this season I'm actually not going to be mad about. They're not telling me they're the next big 3. They're not saying Andre Blotch, Nick Young, and JaVale McGee are the next generation of the team.
Look at this. 131. Kuzma didn't play last night.
There you go. See, I told
131
you.
Kuzma
I told you not
didn't
everyone
play.
was playing last night either when we were
Yeah.
going off the air.
Yeah, look at that. How about your Wizards? 20 from Mike Muscala last night.
You know, it's a pretty good day when I'm not ripping them.
It's a preseason game, win or lose. If you're ripping them, that'd be crazy.
I know.
And,
but-
you know, I'll say this too. Here's the other one. Like, the Knicks did play Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and RJ Barrett at least 25 minutes each last night. So it's not, I mean, not that the game matters, and like, not that anyone's probably trying all that hard, but it wasn't like they played Fran Tarkenton's cousin's son and not Julius Randle last night.
right.
So they actually played their guys. Well, maybe the Wizards are better than we think.
Who wins more games, Ted? Caps or Wizards?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I was going to save the Caps for a little bit because you called it they were in trouble. I didn't realize it was that kind of trouble. Like,
Ottawa's young.
beat the brakes off them.
Ottawa's the new Devils. They are young and up and coming and probably should be vying for the last playoff spot. If not this year, then they'll definitely be in next year.
All right, save your thoughts because I want to spend more time talking about it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
you
Well,
Did you see the Ovechkin stat? That's the only thing I'll leave you with.
no.
2 games in a row, he does not have a shot on goal. He has never done that in his entire 19-year career.
How many power plays did they have last night?
I want to say 1 or 2. It wasn't a lot.
He's out there, right?
Uh-huh.
So they weren't able to get him a shot on goal from that. Okay. And then at no other point in time did he have a shot on goal.
Correct.
Is that because he's new 8 who doesn't play the way he used to, or
I will say his passes haven't been the crispest to him.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll say that because there's been a few that have been off kilter, but I'm just saying that's a bad one. To say this too, Ottawa has a legit shutdown pair of defensemen too, and that's who was out there.
I need to be fair, but I love the Capitals and I watch a lot of them. I saw a lot of the first game, which wasn't pretty. Mm-hmm. I didn't see any of the Flames game, and I didn't see any of last night. Yep. And once I checked Twitter and saw what was going on, I decided not to tune into them.
You're out after it was 5-1.
When it was 5-1, I'm like, I think I'm going to be out tonight because we don't have the type of team that even like feigns like they can come back.
Gone are those days, yes, because they actually could be down 5 goals back in the day, and you'd be like, 50-50, they might come back.
Well, it's like I'm gonna turn on and see if they do pull it off, and then it either end up 5-3 and they were close, or they'd pull it off, and you're like, our guys are the best.
That's right.
Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
Correct.
So, but I do know on good authority, having not seen a lot, that your guy 8 is not bringing it like he used to in general.
Yep.
And so 3 games in, I don't think it's time to go crazy on it. He's also old. People seem to want to forget that part of it.
Course,
the guy's played a bazillion games.
The guy's never slowed down. So if this is the slowdown, it'd be the first time that's happening.
I think I've seen it for the last couple of years. He plays differently now. He's far more careful with his body.
Yeah.
He
picks his spot.
That's a good way to put it. He picks his spots. He's not going to get himself in any car wrecks anymore, and he's sometimes cherry picking.
Correct.
So,
he's always done that. So
I know, but it's pretty obvious now.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn obvious that's what's going on now. And so we'll have to have a larger conversation when I spend a little more time watching them. And if they keep losing 6-1, eventually it's just, he's one of those guys, I think he probably knows this. It's so hard to criticize him for anything.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right.
Like the tide turning on Belichick is a touch surprising because they've just given him no rope whatsoever. And did you guys forget how many Super Bowls you went to with this guy? You could give Brady all the credit in the world, but it's a little much when you come at him with the knives the way you're coming at him because this is the first bad season he's had ever.
Sure.
So it's come on, man. You can't give him 10 seconds to go, all right, Mac Jones ain't it. My team isn't great. It's not the best year. I get it. Give me a break. Don't I have any equity with you people? And that's the problem with Ovechkin if you want to be really critical about him. He's kind of given us joy for 20 years, and it's a little hard to go, he doesn't play the game the same way anymore. Right. Oh, by the way, our team's not that good.
I told you this yesterday, though. You can't pin it on just him no matter what, though, because I keep telling you, and once again last night, Connor McMichael was their best player.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm talking about him, and not just Ovechkin, Wilson, Backstrom, Strome, Oshie, Kuznetsov, when I'm not talking about literally all those guys, too, it's not just on him either.
So this is a Carbs thing. He's got to get through to these guys.
Carbs,
you can't win if your best players are no-shows. How are you going to win?
Wasn't critical of them last night, and he was actually right on this one quote he said. He said, every mistake we're making is ending up in the back of the net. And he goes, that just one, isn't sustainable. We know that that's not going to happen for the whole entire season. And two, he was basically just saying, when it's not going our way, that's when you get these lopsided results because then we have to play perfectly when we're down 4-1 or whatever, and they just haven't done that yet. So I actually liked his quotes. There was one quote from Kuzi last night that I thought was interesting. He said it kind of in passing, but my ears perked up on it, and he said, we need to make sure we're listening to what our head coach is saying.
Oh.
And so...
Oh, my. We need maturity in the room, guys. Let's do a little edge contain.
On that one.
Okay.
Well,
you said the other day, Ovechkin said he came in here and said we need to do this, and we
intermission, yes.
And
so I don't know, and here's all I know: this Kuzi sometimes just says things in passing, and so how much
unless he's on a Russian podcast,
well, yes,
that he tells you everything.
That's definitely not in passing. So I don't know how much weight was behind that one, but it tells me maybe he's trying to toe the company line of hey. We still like this head coach, even though it hasn't gone well these first few games. Everybody chill out. So I think that's what that was.
I'm surprised by this because the vibe and energy all read very positive about the change in coaching. It did. And it's sputtered out of the gate bad here.
Mm-hmm.
They could easily have lost all 3 games that they've played. The first game I watched, they were dominated, especially in the second period. Dominated.
Yep.
And then apparently last night was bad.
Yep.
And the game against the Flames, again, I didn't see it, but sounded like they came out guns a-blazing. It could have been up 3-0,
Correct.
Like no problem.
Right.
Like could have happened.
And that one came in a shootout.
Fortunately, didn't happen and allowed them the opportunity to have what sounds like one good period out of 9 so far.
Right. And
that's what it sounds like.
And had to hold on because they had to hold on in the third period, no score, shootout, or overtime, then the shootout.
Oh, man.
I think the worst
My
part,
hopes are being dashed by ye old Capitals. I came in going, I think they're going to be better off. And hockey's weird. Teams change as the months go along, and sometimes they get hot. Like, I'll never forget, a couple of years ago, the Blues were in, last place and then turned it on in a crazy way and won the Stanley Cup. So I think, I don't want to go too nuts here, but this is a bad start. Really,
bad start.
Surprisingly bad start.
It's a bad start, and they need to have a good start because this is the soft part of the schedule at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Like, go look in December who they've got to play when they've got to play them. If they don't start these first 2 months off better than this, it's going to be bad. They have the worst goal differential in the league 3 games in.
No kidding.
Right, and some teams have played 4 and 5 games.
Well, they've almost been shut out twice.
Correct. Yeah.
So
right,
that's weird when you have 4 Hall of Fame offensive players on your team.
That's what I'm telling you. That's why I shouldn't be talking about Connor McMichael every night. I should be talking about 5 other dudes.
Of course not.
6 other dudes, really.
Oh man. Maybe this group doesn't like the page being turned. They're very turned off by the whole idea of it.
I think everybody just forgot. Everybody who was slow last year got slower this year. I think that's where we're at right now. I think you're kind of just forgetting everybody's aging again.
I'm going to start doing how many years are left on these guys' contracts?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of those. I mean, there's not a lot of years. Strom's the one with the longest contract on the team.
Yeah, but he's not old.
Right, I know.
He's also not a Hall of Fame player.
Right, he's not producing yet either. I mean, I believe he'll get it going eventually, but everyone else, yeah. Oh, Wilson does have the longest contract because he signed that extension. But
I wonder if those prices of those Caps tickets are going to go down, Ted, just like the Diamondbacks. We'll see.
Don't buy them on an official market. Buy it on the secondary market.
I bet they're going down. Let me take a quick little look. Not that I really want to be mean.
Next home game's not until next week, I think.
You know I love the
next Tuesday, Maple Leafs, 6 o'clock puck drop.
6 o'clock?
Yep.
Tickets as low as $28.
You can go see Austin Matthews for $28. That's pretty good.
Yeah. You could go see Minnesota tickets. These are probably all upper deck. The Islanders as low as 25. Florida as low as 24.
Those 2 teams are always cheap, though.
Vegas 37. Yeah. Hot ticket. Go see Vegas. Uh-oh. I didn't think we were in for a long year, but it's not starting well.
I mean, there's opportunity to turn around.
Plenty of time.
But
plenty of time.
It just hasn't started great.
No. And then they got Montreal next. Ovechkin likes playing there.
Correct.
So maybe he'll wake up.
Counterpoint.
Oh, here we go. They've also had a couple days just hang out in Canada.
Correct. Counterpoint. They flew to Montreal last night.
Oh, did they? They should have stayed in Ottawa. Punishment should have stayed in Ottawa. We were going to go to Montreal. That place is much better. But because you lost 6-1 to the Senators, we're staying in downtown Ottawa tonight, guys.
They probably got to Montreal at midnight last night, which if you've been to Montreal, that's nothing.
Just Ted, as a motivational part, you can determine when the plane comes and goes. So maybe you just tell them, you guys win tonight, we'll go to Montreal tonight. You guys lose tonight, we're staying in Ottawa. You lose 6-1, we're staying in the suburbs of Ottawa.
So then you have another night in Montreal tonight, and then another night tomorrow night.
Oh, God. So we're going to lose 17-2 is what you're saying?
Montreal's not as good as Ottawa, so you would hope it stays a little bit closer.
Yeah, but Montreal, the city, is 100 times better than Ottawa.
That's true.
That's the problem.
Yes. No, I know.
They might get the Montreal flu. This is not going to be good.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, Montreal is one of the greatest places on earth.
As someone who experienced that city for the first time earlier this year, yeah,
Montreal,
I agree. It's fantastic.
Montreal is a top 5 North American city.
I would agree with you.
It's amazing.
Right.
It's actually like nothing like we have anywhere around here.
Yeah.
There are parts of it where you think you're in Europe. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're going to go there. Okay. Cool. So 1-3. Cool stuff.
Ted's got to be happy with you. We opened up with both his teams today.
I'm going to stay on the Wizards for a minute here. So BetOnline put out numbers for the season on point totals. Poole, over under, 25 points per game. So they say he's going to fill it up. I don't know how he wouldn't. Right. He's the primary scorer on this team.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Beal, you want to guess his point total for the year? what they said for this year?
I think
Now, remember, this is different because he's got Durant and Booker on his team, which so I'm setting you up for. It might be a little lower than you probably think it's going to be.
When this happened, we looked at it, and it wasn't like 22 or 23.
21.
Yeah.
It's gone down to 21.
Yeah, we saw that when it happened.
Because he shouldn't be volume shooting for that team, except on nights when Durant doesn't play.
Right.
And that will happen. So those are the nights. If he's volume shooting when those three are all playing, that seems like actually a mistake.
Right.
21's the number for him. Your boy Porzingis, they got him at 20.
Oh, no.
They also did a games played over-under on him.
Oh, what's that at?
It's pretty good, actually. 66.
Under. I'm taking under on that one.
My. Well, they've got this whole thing. They're trying to make everybody understand that they want them to play 82 games. People like that don't care.
Right. He also gets those nagging injuries where
I liked Kawhi said, I don't care. Don't make up a rule to make me play more. I'll play when I can play.
With Porzingis, too, he gets those sneaky injuries where they're like, he only got banged up a little bit. And then he's out for 2 weeks. So he misses 6 games right there.
They've taken a big bet with him, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like a big one.
Right.
Like if that one kind of goes sideways on them,
it's not going to be good.
It's going to be bad, actually,
right.
Because if they don't have front court score, they already got rid of the defensive part of their team, Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. If they don't have what they traded it up for was even more offense in Porzingis. If he goes down and they don't have front court scoring, they become a backcourt heavy team with nothing up front. I wish you a lot of luck with Giannis.
Right.
Good luck with that. Or Embiid for that matter.
Sure. Yeah.
Or Embiid for that matter. Last thing on basketball. Harden still is in Houston today, apparently. That's what Ramona says.
Speaking of party cities.
He may be in transit. He may not. We're not sure. It's pretty clear, though, with a few days away from the regular season, his intention, at least right now, is to not play for them.
Houston is James Harden's Montreal.
I mean, the reporting is Udoka didn't want him back, which is why he's not back. That the owner of the team likes him and would have brought him back and would have traded something. And they're like, they've got, they got a lot of young players there, so they could trade something, yeah. I would think. And I would guess there's something that, Philadelphia would have liked out of the young players that they have. But I heard, or at least the reporting was Udoka, the new coach, doesn't like him and wants to just work with the young team because the expectations change drastically if you bring Harden in. And everybody knows that Harden likes being in Houston because he loves the strip clubs there.
Right. Yes.
He
gets the jersey retired.
Yes. He gets the VIP treatment there. I'm guessing this owner and him hang out a lot because it sounds like the owner's willing to bring him back for no reason whatsoever. Right?
Right.
Why would the owner want to bring him back unless they're buddies?
Nah.
Right? It doesn't even make
exactly.
He likes hanging out with them. So let's see how that one plays out. He's playing hardball again. He did show up to the first practice.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Then
he showed up.
Didn't play in the preseason games, and then he just went AWOL to Houston, and he's demanding a trade. And I guess push will come to shove in 5 days if he shows up to play a real game.
Right.
Or even if he does Nick Nurse play him? There might be some kind of list for him coming. Like
Maybe.
A insolent superstar refuses to take part in team activities, Adam. We're going to put him on whatever that list is. The NFL's got that one for the players that, had Chase Claypool not been traded, Chase Claypool would be on that list right now. This happened in the past. There's probably something like this, you need to stay away from us, but we're retaining your rights.
Correct, yeah.
Situation. Or they'll get a trade done, but it doesn't sound like that's happening. It would have happened by now.
Right.
And my gut says that he's asking to go to very specific places. Those places haven't made a real offer, not unlike what happened with Lillard in Miami, and that he's unwilling to hear out going to different places. The weirdest part is he would go back to Houston in a second and play on a team that has no shot at winning.
Right. Yeah, right.
He just likes being there, which ought to tell you about his motivations, and he's willing to go there and do that. If he ends up on the Clippers and Kawhi and Paul George are healthy, that's an interesting trio to see what they do. But it doesn't sound like that's what's happening, and I don't think the Sixers are taking back Kawhi or Paul George are probably not being offered that. So it's like the same thing, that Miami had. If you're not giving us one of those two, even if we want them, what exactly are you sending back to us that we actually want to send James Harden to you?
Right.
That said, Harden can just kind of play out. The reality is he has to come back and play at some point so his contract doesn't toll.
Yes.
If he plays out this year, he can hit free agency at some point. I don't know what that threshold's going to be. So at some point, they know he has to come back. The question is he going to come back fat Harden? Is he going to try very hard? And they also know it's not good. Like, they still have Maxey and Embiid. They have to think they're pretty good.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So he could derail them, and they know that.
To be fair as well, like Harden just going the same route that Russ is doing. Russ said he didn't care about winning, but he tries hard every night.
Yeah.
I don't think you could really question Harden's. Well, I guess you could question his effort. I mean,
are you kidding? That guy could care less about getting a ring, and you know it.
But he'll shoot up a bunch of shots.
He happens to be a very good basketball player.
Right.
He doesn't care about being. He likes being a good basketball player. For him, facilitates the lifestyle that he likes.
He and Anthony Rendon are the same player.
Yeah, he doesn't really care. Well, does Rendon think baseball provides him, outside of money, the lifestyle that he likes?
Yes.
Being a massive basketball star affords you a lifestyle, not just the money, but like you're in every it party.
Anthony Rendon.
You're the guest of honor in all these places. They retire your jersey. You're going to the white party with Michael Rubin. Like, that's because he's a massive NBA player. He likes being an NBA player at this level because of the facilitation of a lifestyle, period.
Right, but they're the same level because Rendon has said out loud he thinks baseball is boring.
Yes.
And then earlier this year, he said he would have retired 10 years ago if he could have. So,
well, he could have, but he wouldn't have gotten $300 million.
Yes, correct. So
smart enough to know, let me sign this contract.
They're actually the same player. Rendon,
no habla inglés today.
Yeah, right.
Maybe Harden should try that. I don't speak English today.
Rendon just says the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, good for him. I got to talk about Paulie dying next. And so a revelation that you told me about one of your colleagues that is infuriating. We'll do that next. Very much the show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. This is arguably the best thematic music that's ever been created. This is going to fly now.
No argument it is.
Really?
Easily.
Darth Vader's theme is pretty darn good. Like when he enters anywhere and they play the Darth Vader music,
Imperial Death March is good.
Is pretty incredible.
I will say on this one, though, and you and I are both big music heads.
Him running to this soundtrack is amazing.
Lyrics, horns, and there's a freaking electric guitar in the middle of all of it.
That's right.
Like, as a music head, I don't know where else that fits anywhere else, and it works because it's a training montage.
That's right.
They use it again. It's so good.
It is. The reprise. Yes, the reprise.
Yes.
It's amazing. So we chose for Throwback Thursday 1976, initially because that's when Giant Stadium, the original, opened. And we've got a terrible story of what happened to the Redskins when they went there. It's been a house of horrors for Washington football.
East Rutherford has sucked.
Yes. Now they don't currently play at what was the original Giant Stadium, but it is sitting on the same hallowed grounds where, who was buried there? Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah. Jimmy Hoffa's apparently buried there.
That was busted, but whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so we were actually looking back at, because obviously Washington's going up to MetLife this weekend to take on the Giants, where oddly, I know what everybody thinks about, the series, and it's typically not been good, especially with Daniel Jones plays. But Washington actually tied their last meeting there and won the one prior, and they haven't actually gone undefeated in 3 straight years against the Giants since the early 1980s in New York. So that's what they're going to try to change here. They also got some bad news today. Shane Lemieux is another offensive lineman that is out. He tore his biceps today.
Yeah.
They signed some guy off the Dallas practice squad that I've never heard of. Last week, they signed Justin Pugh straight off the couch. He was starting at left guard. Had to move to left tackle.
Yep.
I don't think Andrew Thomas is playing this week. I think he's still out. Chase, Montez, John, and Duran. If
and
you
Two
are
Hill
not
for that, and Two Hill.
If you are not eating good this week, we're gonna have some serious questions.
If that Cinco package isn't on the field,
Ridgeway
half the time,
Ridgeway, Obata, Smith Williams. Here's my challenge to you: all of you get a sack. All of you. I want all of you to get at least one sack.
10 sacks is a lot.
10 sacks. Each of you get one. I want each of you to get one. So we're doing 1976 because we initially did it because that's Giant Stadium, House of Hell for the Washington football team Commanders Redskins. But the news came out yesterday late and then early today that one of the famed members of the movie Rocky, Burt Young, who played Paulie, died at the age of 83. And as it turns out, Rocky came out in 1976.
Look at that.
Look at that. So we got, as you say, kismet, luck, karma. We chose a year, and then all of a sudden, look at that. Rocky came out the same year.
Yeah.
On Burt Young, great actor, been in a million things. He wasn't just Paulie. he was amazing at playing a POS. Like he was, there are some guys that are just beyond incredible at it. I think like James Gandolfini comes into this, like where you look at him and when he tried to do other things, it was good but not great. But every time he did a Tony Soprano or even a supporting character that was a total POS, he was amazing at it. Right?
Exactly.
Burt Young was similar. He was kind of swarthy. He had this like don't care attitude. And he just was like a total lowlife in these movies. And he was just amazing in that film.
You and I talked before the show how Paulie had like no redeeming factors
None.
in the entire
None.
Rocky series across like all 4 or 5 movies he was in. But he was perfect at playing that POS essentially.
Yes,
so,
he really was totally amazing at doing it. He passed away today. As for Rocky itself, it came out in 1976. It might be my favorite movie of all time. I think it's the best sports movie
I think
ever
it is
created.
too. No, I absolutely agree with you.
It is. Name another sports movie that won Best Picture, because it did back in 1976. And think about, this is what it was up against that year. All the President's Men, which is the Watergate film that featured Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. It is amazing. And if you've never seen it, it holds up and is amazing.
Had to watch that in high school.
Bound for Glory. Network, which is an all-time classic movie about a news anchor that totally loses it.
Right.
It's incredible. And Peter Finch actually won for playing Howard Beale, the anchor on news. So Sylvester Stallone, who obviously was up for Best Actor, did not win. He also was up against Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, which was also up for Best Picture. So these days, when our Best Picture category sucks, think about that, like what cinema was. The Best Picture category was Rocky, All the President's Men, Bound for Glory, Network, and Taxi Driver. Rocky won for Best Picture. It also won for Best Director. Best Actor and Best Actress went to the people who played the main roles in Network, Peter Finch and Faye Dunaway. Talia Shire, who plays Adrian, was up for Best Actress, but did not win that year. Sylvester Stallone did not win as Rocky. Has he ever gotten a Lifetime Achievement Award? Because I looked it up. He's never won an Oscar for anything. And the only other thing that I think would probably be potentially in it but would never win is Rambo, where he had the Rambo series where he was also incredible as Rambo. But that character, those types of characters don't typically win Best Actor type awards, but he was great as this kind of PTSD'd freedom fighter who was hiding out in the woods. I don't remember why, but I don't remember the Rambo story. He came back from war, and I don't remember exactly the Rambo story, but he's incredible in that too.
He was nominated for Best Actor and a Best Original Screenplay for Rocky.
I think that's it.
2016 with Creed, he was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
But he didn't win.
Yeah, literally 4 years later.
So that was probably one of those. Sometimes the Oscars does this. They try to do a make good.
Yeah.
Like Al Pacino won for Best Actor for Scent of a Woman, and it's not that he didn't deserve it, but he didn't win for Scarface.
Yeah.
He didn't win for The Godfather. Like he didn't win for classic, all-time, incredible roles that he played, but they made good. So this one screams Sylvester Stallone, before he dies, because he's in his upper 70s now, is probably owed a make good for doing and performing the best sports movie ever. The other thing that's amazing about this, they made that movie for under $1 million.
Yeah. The whole point. What's fascinating with Rocky is it's actually a microcosm of Sylvester Stallone making that movie. He kept constantly bringing that script to different studios, and they wanted to buy the script, but he said, I'm only selling it to you if I can be Rocky, and nobody wanted to do it. So like literally the storyline of the movie actually coincided with how it got made, essentially, because he didn't want to give it up.
These nominations are amazing. And Best Actress, Talia Shire was a nominee for Adrian. Faye Dunaway won for the role of Diana Christensen in Network. Also up for Best Actress that year was Sissy Spacek. She played Carrie in an all-time classic horror film that actually my daughter and her high school drama club is doing a Broadway or like a stage production of Carrie.
What?
A stage production of Carrie.
How much blood do they have to dump on the floor for that?
A lot. I'm not going to tell you how they're making it because it clearly won't be blood, but they have to make the pig's blood.
Right.
They have to make it. So they're going to make that for everybody. What a year that was. So not only do I love talking about Rocky, it is amazing to me, though, when you point out people, especially people in sports, who've never seen it. And I'm telling you, like, it's if it's not your favorite sports movie of all time, fine. It's in your top 5, and I won't hear otherwise.
I agree.
Unless you're an idiot and you like things like basketball. Like, if you're an idiot, then I can't help
Thunder.
you. Yeah.
No, not Tropic Thunder.
I can't help you. If you
Will
like
Ferrell one, whatever that one is.
If you like the Rob
Semi-pro.
Schneider, if you like the Rob Schneider football movie, then I can't help you. Right? I can't help you. But like, if you don't understand that this is the greatest sports movie of all time, or at least in the discussion of it, and that doesn't bring you to maybe want to watch it once in your life, I don't know.
Also, just
Ben Raby and his McDonald's loving ways, like, Ben, how could you never have seen this movie?
I was shocked yesterday. Shocked, I tell you.
How?
I don't know. Even, John and Ken actually made a great point on our broadcast.
I mean, I have a couple where if I told you I've never seen any of this, you'll probably be like, I can't believe you've never seen any of this. Like, I've never seen Game of Thrones, not a single episode of it.
Started it and only watched like 5 episodes, so I'm with you on that.
I've never seen a full Lord of the Rings movie.
That's a mistake because those have held up so incredibly well.
I'm sure they're great. It's not my genre. I work in sports. The idea that I wouldn't know culturally significant things in sports is nuts to me.
The argument with Rocky, too, though, is also not only is the original Rocky one of the best sports movies, 2, 3, and 4 are also among some of the best sports movies ever.
They're incredible. Like, they're all great.
They weren't just what Hollywood sequels are now, where they're just cashing in. They were legitimate storyline, great movies.
It's not Magic Mike 2.
We don't talk about Rocky 5. But other than that, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Even the Creed series
the Creed movies are good, too.
Even the Creed ones are good.
The Rocky Balboa Redeem before Creed came out was actually pretty good, too. That was Sylvester Stallone going, Rocky 5 sucked, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to release this one to make sure everyone forgets about the last one. But.
So, this happens. Like, we've had a couple of games here with the Commanders that went sideways, and the conversation could turn. It was 6-1 last night.
Correct.
Yeah. When you find out, Ben's never seen Rocky, and Burt Young died. Yeah. Burt Young, by the way, was nominated for Best Supporting Actor and did not win that year.
Right.
And I saw some things, like all these things popped up that Sylvester Stallone has said through the years he should have gotten the award for this. He's another person who never got an award, and he was in a million things. Right. Burt Young, like you know him from everywhere, not just Paulie.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was a lot of TV stuff too. Like he was on TV shows, like all.
But he was always like the number 2 criminal.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
There's nothing redeeming about him at all.
That's what he played.
Yeah, that's what he played.
He's good at playing.
We need the low life. He's a low life. Like he's like one of those guys.
I told Ben, I've got all of them on DVD. I'll throw them your way. You need to watch them because I just don't know how you've gotten this far in life without watching it.
I mean, it's a shame. You're really kind of missing out. It's also, like what's your problem with it?
Also,
is really why when everybody tells you it's great, do you not believe them?
John Walton had to call him out too, and he said, "How many years when Lars Eller has been here that we play Eye of the Tiger on the broadcast, and you don't understand what franchise that's from?"
Right.
We've been playing Eye of the Tiger for
you don't know what
5 years before Eller left the team.
So he didn't know that. Oh, he didn't even know what Eye of the Tiger is from. Ooh.
He knows it's from the series, but he can't reference it from what it's from.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm. Among the other great films he was in, Chinatown, which is a classic Jack Nicholson film. Mm-hmm. Once Upon a Time in America, he was in that. He played a role in Transamerica. He's been in he played the father of Bobby Bacala from The Sopranos. He was the father of that guy. They say, another lowlife.
Right.
He's been in a million television shows. He's a great. So it's too bad he passed away. R.I.P. to Burt Young. All right, let me take a quick break. Very much show. He's PN 630 Sports Capital. Very excited about 1976. This is the great KC and the Sunshine Band from 1976 with Shake Your Booty.
Your boy's a big disco fan.
Yeah, one of the 2 great hits from KC and the Sunshine Band.
My favorite
is I'm Your Boogeyman.
It's a good one.
Which was remade by White Zombie at a later date. And it's a really great version of I'm Your Boogeyman, with a different feel to it because it's Rob Zombie singing it as opposed to this disco version of it. But this is a great hit from KC and the Sunshine Band. I know there was some weird stuff about them. I don't remember what it is.
I don't know. Disco is its own little bubble, so I usually don't judge as harshly. So at some point, though, my favorite, though, and you'll probably hear him later, is like there's multiple disco hits from the Bee Gees. And I remember my parents being like, they were a band before there was disco, right? And I was like, no, they weren't. Stop it. Because everyone wanted to cash in on the disco train.
Right. We chose 1976 when this came out for Throwback Thursday for what ended up being two reasons. Rocky came out that year, maybe the best sports movie ever created, and one of its main characters, Paulie, Burt Young, passed away at the age of 83, played the role of Adrian's brother and Rocky's best friend.
It's the worst.
At a total lowlife in the whole thing. Incredible, incredible role. And it also happens to be the first year that they opened the Meadowlands, Giant Stadium, where the New York Giants played. And it has not been a fun trip most years when Washington goes up there to play. They don't play in the original Giant Stadium anymore, but they're in the same spot when MetLife Stadium basically took over there. And I think a lot of my friends who like the Giants and the Jets wish that never actually happened because once they decided to build the new stadium, I think they wanted to move on. And I do feel like there is a possibility that the Jets will separate at some point and build, if they ever get New York to build their own stadium, they came actually close. Close might not be the right word. They had a deal in place.
I remember this.
In like one of the ends of Manhattan.
Yep.
I can't remember which side, but there was like a industrial area of Manhattan on like one of the far ends of it. And there was going to be a Jet stadium there, of which I would say would change the popularity of that team overnight.
Agree.
If they had a Manhattan-based stadium, I think they'd be the hot thing if they actually moved into something like that.
Yeah. I mean, even if the Giants were winning, they wouldn't be the ones in the city. You and I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Bunch of popularity would go their way. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Let me talk about this story that I can't believe it still has legs, but it does. So the other night during Monday Night Football, the cameras kept focusing in on this one Chargers fan.
Yes.
Her name we now know is Marianne Doe.
Yep.
She was having these intense roller coastery reactions because, like every Chargers game, their outcomes are insane. You kind of never know what's going to happen. They get the lead, they blow the lead, they have a chance to win at the end, they throw an interception. So we all lived vicariously through her.
Yeah.
Because it's L.A., everyone asked, are you a paid actor?
Right.
She ended up going on Mac. People found her.
Yeah, she went on McAfee, yeah.
I still don't know how people find these people, but they do. They found her.
It's word of mouth.
Yep, they found her. She went on McAfee. He asked her, are you a paid actor? Others tried to ask. She said, no, I'm just a huge, huge, huge football fan. And, so everyone's like, okay, this is great. And then it takes one other person 10 minutes of searching on the internet to find a picture of her all decked out in Vikings gear, making the same gestures and kind of crazy, like yes, no, whatever, all that stuff. Now everyone's basically calling her a fraud because she is wearing an Adam Thielen jersey. And then next to the picture of her in whatever Herbert jersey or whatever she was wearing, making the same faces, and everyone's going, it is impossible to be that passionate about the Vikings and the Chargers. To which I would say, I agree. You can't be. I agree.
I would agree, but why would she pick those two teams to be that passionate about? Because to me, it just says you have two NFL teams. Some people do this.
So, right. Okay.
Especially if she's living in L.A.,
and
you know how this works. You pick up one of the local teams.
Correct. Now, this is why I hate social media, because this comes out and people are going, you suck, you're a liar, you're a fraud. Maybe you were paid to be cheering and that's why the camera was on you and all that, whatever.
Right.
As it turns out, one of the producers for McAfee, who looked into finding her, said this, and he was basically like, because someone put out look at the two pictures of her next to her.
Yeah.
And he goes, I usually would ignore a fake story. However, this lady is too good of a person to let this slide. Her son plays on the, quote, Vikings in his local league. So guess what? Not only is she a real Chargers fan, but she is super mom who went all out for her son's football game.
Of course. There you go.
Okay. But there's more. She did grow up in Minnesota.
Okay.
So...
all right.
Now we're back on, okay, what's happening here? Is it the Suns football game? Is it that you grew up in Minnesota? Do you just love them because you moved to Southern California 20 years ago? Why do you like the Chargers if you weren't in San Diego? There's just a lot of questions. That's all.
You and I think, agree on this, though. When you move somewhere and you're a sports fan at heart, you want to pick up one or two of the local teams because you like going to games. You like following the team closely. You like putting on
You're around it all the time.
You like putting on sports radio and knowing what they're talking about.
Yes.
Like, I think it's so...
This is what I always say to the teams now about local media. When you're not complicit with working with them and you try to shut them out, you're making a mistake. We're a free marketing arm for you, you idiots.
Correct.
Like, if you just work with us, we do the work for you for free.
Right. And look, she followed the rules as far as I'm concerned. If she grew up a Vikings fan, NFC team.
Yeah.
So when she moved there, she picked up the Chargers, AFC team.
Right.
Didn't hop on the Rams, by the way, once they moved there. So this is all fair game. I think that's perfectly fine what she's doing. It's not like the Chargers and the Vikings are rivals or something either. It's perfectly fine.
Let's see. So social media is now having nice reactions to all the different things about her. This woman, Jessica. Being a woman who likes sports in a nutshell, you show enthusiasm for football and people question you like you're on a witness stand. Yep. This is embarrassing.
Right.
Kevin Clark does a great job.
Yep.
Grow up. The Chargers moved 5 years ago. She's allowed to be a Chargers fan. In fact, people are allowed to do whatever they want.
That's right. He's right. Absolutely.
Here's Ben Axelrod. Fan policing is so weird. We're all just rooting for strangers that we're irrationally invested in based on the laundry they wear. It's just sports. Who cares?
That's a good one.
Yeah, who cares?
I saw another person.
Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart. She was born and raised in Minnesota, moved to OC 20 years ago. She's my boy's family. Leave her alone.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. There was someone that quote retweeted it too and basically said, when I go to another team's stadium, I buy a hat. And so it was her wearing 4 different hats for 4 different college teams. Yeah. And then her comments were
I used to do that too. I used to buy hat. Like I was in St. Louis and bought a Blues hat and was wearing it all the time for no good reason. It's not that I liked them. I actually liked the hat.
I do the same thing with baseball. If the Nats or the Orioles aren't playing, I buy the home team's hat. And I am that fan for a day.
How about this one? Alex. She's willingly a Vikings and Chargers fan.
Yes.
For the love of God,
exactly.
Leave her alone. She's been through enough.
100%. That's what I'm saying. She picked those 2 teams. It's not like she picked the Patriots.
I like the Cowboys and the Patriots.
I like the Patriots and the Chiefs.
I like Duke, the Lakers, the Yankees, and the Patriots.
Right.
Okay, guys?
Right.
Cool?
She took 2 teams that haven't won a Super Bowl.
I will say, as a huge cynic, when I saw her shown on TV so many times, I had the feeling that she was paid. That crossed my mind that she was a plant. It did. It crossed my mind.
It didn't cross my mind because the plants now are all marketing arms of a movie or some product.
Like when they did that weird horror movie Smile.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had those people show up and do those weird faces from the crowd, and that actually just creeped me out.
At that stadium, literally in the last couple of weeks, they've had people that look like robots because there's some robot movie coming out.
Right.
And so when I saw it, I just said no. And I think we as sports fans get lost in this sometimes. Do we know how many games a year she goes to? Maybe she only goes to 1 game a year.
Right.
So she gets fully invested in the 1 game she's going to. I hate when sports fans try to tell how other sports fans how to act. This is what it all boils down to.
Leave her alone.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. I want to get into some trade proposals that CBS has as the trade deadline in the NFL is a little under 2 weeks away, and Michigan has been caught for sign stealings. We'll talk about that next. Bram, watch the show. ESPN 630 at Sports Capital. Might be a perfect song.
Oh, I like that take, actually.
There's nothing really wrong with it. I'm not saying it's my favorite or anything like that, but it's a perfectly composed piece of music in every way. Find the fault. Other than you might not like the genre. Find the fault.
I mean, I'm a horns guy, so anytime you got a heavy horns in any of your songs, I'm a sucker for that. So
incredible
I'm with you.
Bass line, no overuse of the horns.
Yeah.
Perfect amount of cowbell. I mean, absolute perfect amount of cowbell.
And who doesn't like the line, play that funky music, white boy?
Great line.
Fantastic
line. Total payoff. All right, I'm trying to guess here. I think this is a one-hit wonder. Oh, man. Is it? Is this a one-hit wonder, right? Play that funky music?
I believe so, yes.
This is either Lips or Wild Cherry.
Wild Cherry.
Oh, yes! Yes! Lips is Funky Town. Lips is Funky Town.
Okay, yes.
I knew it was Funky was in there somewhere. Lips is Funky Town.
Yes.
And it's women singing. Right, okay.
Yes,
got
that's it.
This guy, if I remember right, he's classic looks 70s, if I remember right. This dude who sings this one.
I would have to look that up. I don't know. Sorry. My knowledge on Wild Cherry, not much there.
At me if you hate me for this, but I think this is a perfect song.
I think
you don't have to love it. I'm not saying you have to love it. You don't have to tell me it's better than Stairway to Heaven. I don't need to hear it.
That's what most one-hit wonders are, though.
It's a perfect piece of music.
One-hit wonders are, though. Sometimes there's one good song that you put it all together on, and popular in
Forever.
perpetuity. Yes, exactly.
Who doesn't like that song? 1976 is when Play That Funky Music came out, White Boy, which we chose, what ended up being for two reasons. Rocky came out. Burt Young, who played Paulie in that movie, died yesterday. And that is the first year of the former Giant Stadium, where Washington would go up there, and in the Parcells years, terrible. Didn't you tell me it's something like there's only a couple of decades where Washington's had a winning record against the Giants in general? The series is actually very tilted towards the Giants through the years. They've been playing each other for, almost 100 years now.
So full-on record is 106-71-5. So they've been
favor of the Giants.
Playing each other forever. Yeah. So here's how it's gone by decade. Wikipedia has it nice and laid out for you.
We were good in the 40s?
No.
Right? No?
No. 30s, 9-5-2 Giants. 40s, Giants 12-9. 50s.
That's Sammy Baugh era, too. That's pretty crazy. That's the Sammy Baugh era.
Yeah, 50s, Giants 15-5.
Not surprising. That's when Sam Huff and the Giants were dominant. Y.A. Tittle, they were dominant teams. And our team, people forget this, after Sammy Baugh, we stunk until Sonny showed up.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Right. 60s, Giants 12-5-1.
Again, yeah. Like, they were a dominant franchise.
Then the 70s, the then Redskins, 13-7. So they got one there. They finally got a winning decade against
George Allen, et cetera. The Giants actually went through a dark period back then. You'll recall they were very rarely in the playoffs. It took to getting Parcells to come around for them to end up being good again.
Then in the 80s, obviously, both teams probably maybe the best they both were. Redskins edge out 11-10, but that was when that was Parcells. Both of them were winning Super Bowls. So
and it is, I believe, the one and only time in the modern era that they faced each other in the playoffs. Washington got shut out in the playoffs in the Meadowlands to a Parcells team back in the mid-1980s.
The NFC Championship game, I think
I think 17-0, something like that.
Yeah. Then the 90s, 11-8-1 for the Giants. 2000s, 14-6 for the Giants. 2010s, 13-7 for the Giants.
Which is amazing because really since Coughlin, they have been, if not the worst franchise in the NFL, it's close to it.
Right. Well, I mean,
last year was a one-off for them since Coughlin.
So look at this franchise too. Just
right.
As bad. I mean,
exactly. I mean, that's the crazy part. Or like everyone keeps pointing out the Daniel Jones numbers, which are really crazy. He's 5-1-1 against Washington. He doesn't have a winning record against anybody else except Carolina. He only played them twice.
Right. And then the current 2020s Giants up 3-2-1.
Currently 3-2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams can't get out of each other's. I mean, the Commander or Washington football team was in the playoffs a couple of years ago. The Giants were last year. They are one-offs.
Yep.
They've been one-offs for both of them.
For sure.
I really don't see a path to the Giants fixing this to get to the playoffs this year. I don't think that's going to happen for them. At 1-5, end with all the injuries that they have, and we don't think that they're particularly strong anywhere on their team in general.
Right.
Them turning around to end up in the playoffs again doesn't feel like is very possible.
Yeah.
For Washington, this is a must-win, period.
I mean, yes.
And I hate saying it against them because they always lose to them.
It always happens, yeah.
It's the same thing as last year. They had to win. Had they won one of those two games, they would have been in the playoffs, and the Giants wouldn't.
Right, correct.
Had they won that Sunday night game.
Yes.
Even with what happened with Cleveland. Well, I don't think Wentz would have played.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
I think had they won that Giants game on Sunday night and then got to that Cleveland game, even if the same things happened in the following couple of weeks, I think they would have stuck with Heineke because they would have been front running towards a playoff spot and they wouldn't have made that change.
Right.
Because it was so up in the air, what are they going to do? I think it probably clouded the decision. And Heineke was running out of gas for sure. But I think if they had won that Sunday night game, especially in dramatic fashion at the end of it, hussy, that I don't think the change ever would have been made. And then we also would have never gotten to see Sam Howell in that game against Dallas and wouldn't have him starting right now, I bet.
I still think Ron. I still think Ron would have used the Niners game to throw Wentz out there. I think I'm not saying it's.
I don't know.
I think you would have thrown him out there.
Had they basically put the Giants in a really tough spot, because that's the difference between Washington making the playoffs and not making it, was that game, actually, in the end.
Right.
I don't think he would have made the change. I don't think he would have. I don't know, but I don't think he would have.
Yeah, but
we also wouldn't have gotten Hal.
I use that argument though because Heineke actually didn't play bad in that Niners game.
No,
he was looking for an excuse to play him.
He was looking for an excuse.
Not that
It was sliding the wrong way. Remember, I kept saying for weeks, I go, I can see a path to Carson Wentz, because I knew what was happening in real time. They had to keep winning. Once they had that tie, I went, this is it. He has to go beat them at home. If he goes and beats them at home, he will not be pulled because they'll be ahead of the Giants and they'll be basically beelining towards the playoffs, and he's not going to shake it up. Because they lost that game, they were then in the position of, all right, and then we all knew what was happening for that 49ers game. They were waiting for the opportunity to put him in. And the craziest part was it was one of Heineke's best games. Correct. It was as if he knew it. My job's on the line. Watch this. And that was the weird part of him being pulled.
Right.
So I don't blame him for a second for not wanting to play in that final game for so many reasons.
Right.
So many reasons. He couldn't play Wentz again.
No, of course not. Well,
couldn't play Wentz again.
Here's my argument, too, with that. At least
there was no reason to play Wentz again.
There's no reason we should be breaking this down as much as we are today. But with that 49ers game, too, I was always at peace with at least getting it Wentz out of the way. They needed to know that he wasn't the answer, just as important as if he was the answer. So when
I will go to my grave going, I understood why they did that decision.
Right,
it totally
then when
backfired.
they played the Browns, it was like, we know he's not the guy anymore. We will cut him. That was exactly how it went.
Yes. All right. Let's get to CBS. Let's see. I think Halloween is the trade deadline this year. Something around there, right around there.
Better watch out for that Hives concert.
Get
That's
the
usually
news.
the afternoon, though.
You know what the good news is of not being the beat reporter anymore is? I don't need to freak out when the news comes. They just tell me and I go, oh, that's interesting.
You don't need to pull a laptop out and sit on the ground.
And I think it's worth bringing this up because while I don't expect Washington to be a seller, understand here that if they were to say, I don't know, lose this game or potentially the next one to the Eagles, and they are suddenly 3-5, 0-3 in their division, and all of these players on expiring contracts, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Kendall Fuller, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Cam Curl, Charles Leno. I'm missing others like Antonio Gibson. There's a lot of prominent players that are up for contracts. And I think we all know, that in Casey Tuhill, James Smith-Williams, there's a lot of players that are up. If this thing goes sideways the next 2 weeks, 0-3 in the division and 3-5, the new ownership may ask or demand moves to be made in the eye of what next year looks like for them to maximize their assets before they head into the offseason.
Of course.
If they win the next game, and then we'll see against the Eagles, and they are 5, somehow win both of them, they're 5-3 or 4-4. I'm going to go with they're going to hold.
Probably.
And they're not going to do anything. But, I think that's what's on the line this weekend here. If they lose to the Giants, they come back home, lose to the Eagles, there might be some pressure for the first time from the new ownership to do something about personnel, and they may demand some trades.
It could also be, you don't know what their thinking is, but let's just say they like Sam Howell, don't love him, and they think they need to move up in the draft and get Drake May or Caleb Williams at this point, because the May thing is really is getting out of control now that people love him this much. Anita was doing it yesterday.
He's very good.
But
everyone knows there's a 1-2 and quarter. The top two picks are quarterbacks this year.
All those players you just named.
Those two.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All those players you just named would net you back 6, 7, 8 picks. I don't know what rounds you are, but you can start packaging those to start packaging them to get more. I
don't want to go there because I'm hoping they're going to win this weekend, and I want to play out the season here.
Of course.
Right? That's what I want to do. But if they were to lose, there's going to be a lot of speculation about Sweat and Young.
Right.
A lot.
Yeah.
Because a contender is going to look at them and go, what are we going to give up to do that? Mm-hmm. You got to sign the guy on the other side of it. But I will be very interested to see if Washington is open-minded to it.
Yep.
Now, if they go up and win in New York this weekend, I think that's off the table for another week because I think you want to be fair to Ron. You got to give him a chance. If they go and win this week, then you go home and you play the Eagles and you see what happens.
Right.
And if you go and beat the Eagles the following week and you're 5-3, you don't do anything like that. Play the season out.
No,
give them a chance. Play the season out. But if things go wrong over the next 9 days, this might be the first time that I think the ownership could weigh in a little bit here.
I agree with you on that front. I will say this, though, if you don't think you're signing some of these guys and then you really don't think you have a legitimate shot to win a playoff game anyways, but to be, if you're going to give Ron the fair shot, then you can't undermine him. Okay,
that's my point on it. If you're 3-5, though, I think you can then go, you're 3-5, you've already been swept by the Eagles. We're not winning the division, and we know it.
Right.
Right? So now we're fighting for a wild card, but we're way behind on that one too. We're making moves, guys. And one of these two ends, because let's pick the one that we think we're going to franchise, and let's move the other one.
Yeah.
I could see that. I'm hoping that's not what happens here. I want them to go win this weekend, and we're not doing that because I want to give this team a chance to win. But I do think it's a distinct possibility that for the first time, the ownership will weigh in on what this roster looks like if they don't go the right way.
I think if you're ownership, you're going to Marty Herney and Mayhew, and you're going, I need you to call teams and gauge the value of some of these guys because you might
Young
have to
and Sweat.
You might have to do
because the rest of it is all of those other guys.
I would say to Logan Thomas. Everyone needs a tight end in this league. I mean, seriously,
maybe
like if there's a contender that needs one,
Kurt.
Yeah. I mean that. I think Gibson Gibson might net you something late.
Late because that's the problem with the running backs is you can't. But you could rent him.
But I'm getting here though.
Get like a late pick for him.
What I'm getting at here though is as much as we didn't like the Caps making the playoffs last year, the tougher decision was them going. We have all these expiring contracts. We need to figure out who's staying and trade everyone else. And that was a tough pill to swallow. Funny enough though, they weren't really eliminated until there were 5, 6, 7 games left. So. I'm just saying, too, you need to gauge where some of this value is because you could still trade and then still compete, too, if you want.
The hard part with it is that, Rivera is the person who runs the front office.